Okay, so in the last class, I was talking about this theorem that so now onwards we'll be doing only with polynomials with real coefficients. So this is the first theorem relating with the polynomials with real coefficients, which says that so if I have a polynomial with real coefficients and suppose that has a complex root alpha plus I beta, then this theorem guarantees you that the equation will also have the its conjugate complex root alpha minus I beta. Okay, so whenever alpha plus I beta is a root of some algebraic equation having real coefficients, then its conjugate is also a root. Okay, so today we'll prove this theorem. So remember one more thing, this can be also stated this way. In an equation with real coefficient, imaginary roots occur in conjugate pairs. Okay, so imaginary roots occur in conjugate pairs. So today we're going to prove this. So let's start the proof. So one thing you remember that what has been given to us. We are given that alpha plus I beta is a root. We have to prove that alpha minus I beta will also be a root. So only this thing to prove. Alpha plus I beta is a root. Alpha plus I beta is a root, and we have to prove that alpha minus I beta is also a root. Okay, so let me first take some algebraic equation having real coefficient. So let fx equals to 0 be an equation of degree n. Okay, and definitely with all coefficients real, with real coefficients okay, and suppose that alpha plus I beta is the root. Suppose alpha plus I beta be a root of fx equals to 0. Now they are writing one thing. It is obvious, and you will tell me why it is obvious. It is obvious that n is greater than or equals to 2. They have written this line in the proof that it is obvious that the degree is greater or equals to 2. Why? That is my question. Why it is so obvious that this degree should be at least 2, it cannot be 1. What will happen if it is not 1? So why this degree cannot be 1? Because if the degree is 1, then what will happen is, see, this fx can be written as some constant, suppose a0, and the factor is this. So x minus alpha minus I beta, right? Because this is the root of the polynomial. This is the root of the polynomial fx. So fx can be written as, and I am assuming that if the degree is 1, so if the degree is 1, fx can be written as a naught times x minus the root. The root is this. If there is a bracket here, so if I open the bracket, this is also minus, this is also minus. So fx will be of this form, and which is not possible. Which is not possible because we are assuming that fx be an equation with real coefficients. Okay, so look at the coefficient. Here the coefficient, this one will not be real anymore. So did you get my point? So why fx cannot be a polynomial of degree 1? It should be at least of degree 2 when I am assuming that alpha plus I beta is a root. Okay, so this n is greater or equals to 2. Okay. Okay, so now let us divide fx by, so I'll divide fx by some polynomial. Okay, so let us divide. So because fx is a polynomial of degree at least 2, So I can divide by a polynomial of degree 2. So I'll divide by a polynomial of degree 2. So let us divide fx by this quantity. I'll divide fx by this quantity. Which quantity? This one. X minus alpha plus I beta times x minus alpha minus I beta. So I am dividing fx by this polynomial. That is by, so let's simplify this polynomial a bit. So this can be written like this: x minus alpha minus I beta times x minus alpha plus I beta. That is, I'll divide fx by, this can be simplified. You think this as a and think this as b. So this is a minus b into a plus b. So it is a square minus b square. What is b square? I square beta square. That will become plus beta square. So I will divide fx by this polynomial. I will divide fx by this polynomial. Okay, so I can divide fx by a polynomial of degree 2. I am dividing by this polynomial. Let's see what happens. So when I divide, I'll get some quotient and remainder. So let qx be the quotient. Let qx be the quotient and rx be the remainder. Right? And rx be the remainder. So when I am dividing fx by this polynomial, we assume that qx be the quotient and rx be the remainder. This is guaranteed by the division algorithm. Okay. What will be the degree of qx? What will be the degree of qx? Can you tell me what is the degree of qx? It's very simple. So the degree of the quotient will be n minus 2 and the degree of the remainder. So the remainder will either be 0 and degree of the remainder. What can I say about degree of the remainder? Yes, so it will be at most 1, right? This will be less or equals to 1. It can be 0 also, and I should add, and Rx is 0 or degree of Rx is at most 1. So this all comes from the division algorithm. So I know either the remainder will be 0, or the degree of Rx will be less or equals to 1. Okay, now since fx is a real polynomial, right? That real polynomial means having coefficients all real. So fx is a real polynomial. So fx is a real polynomial, and the divisor, I am dividing by this. Now you see this is also a real polynomial, because if you open the brackets, you will never find I here, iota here. So all the coefficients are real, right? And this polynomial x minus alpha whole square plus beta square is also a real polynomial. Real polynomial, right? So we can guarantee that because fx is a real polynomial and the divisor is also a real polynomial. So the quotient and the remainder are also real polynomials. So this is very obvious to prove, or you may just visualize things. So because your left hand side is a real polynomial and you are dividing, like this divisor is also a real polynomial, so the quotient must be real as well as the remainder should also be real. Okay. So because look at Rx. What will be the form of Rx? It is at most 1. So let Rx be of the form Ax plus b. So when a is not 0, so this is of degree 1. If a becomes 0, then this is of degree 0. And if a and b both become 0, so Rx becomes 0. So in all these cases, I may just assume that Rx equals to Ax plus b will determine the values of a and b. Okay, we'll determine the values of a and b. So if a is not 0, then the degree of Rx is 1. If a is 0, degree of Rx becomes 0, just because this x term is not there, so only b is there, which is a constant polynomial. And if a and b both are 0, this Rx becomes 0. So in general, let's assume Rx to be Ax plus b. And one thing to note, because this is a real polynomial, so where a comma b both belongs to real numbers. So this thing is to note. So till now the idea is very simple. What I have done, I have divided fx by this polynomial x minus alpha whole square plus beta square. I am naming the quotient as qx and the remainder as rx, and rx is of the form ax plus b. Okay. So what I have, by the division algorithm, fx can be written as the divisor. What is the divisor? X minus alpha whole square plus beta square times quotient plus remainder. So ax plus b. So I have just used the division algorithm. So by the division algorithm, I'll be getting this. Right. Now let's use the fact that alpha plus I beta is a root. Okay. So we haven't used the fact yet that alpha plus I beta is a root. So now I'll be using, remember, my task is to find the values of a and b. I'll prove that both a and b is 0. So if both a and b is 0, so this remainder will be 0. So let's see how will that help us. Okay. So since alpha plus I beta is a root of fx equals to 0, therefore f of alpha plus I beta will be 0. So in place of x, if I put alpha plus I beta, that will make it 0, right? Now what is f of alpha plus beta? Alpha plus I beta, you put this is fx, this is the expression for fx now. You put alpha plus I beta in place of x everywhere. So let me write, this implies, in place of x I'll put alpha plus I beta. Alpha plus I beta minus alpha whole square plus beta square towards my left. Aditya, what you do, you please turn your phone in this one, landscape mode. That will be easier, I guess, then, to see. Just check once, Aditya. So this will be this equals to 0. Okay. Now, so I have just placed here x to be alpha plus I beta. Yeah. So you see, this alpha and this alpha gets cancelled. So I beta whole square. So what is I beta whole square? It is I square beta square. What is I square? Minus 1. So this is minus beta square plus beta square. This becomes 0. So this quantity becomes, I'll simply write here, this quantity whole will become 0. You just calculate and see, this becomes 0. So 0 into this number will also be 0. I'll simply remain with only this part. So a into alpha plus I beta plus b equals to 0. So take a note of this and then we'll proceed to the next page. So what was the last expression that we are getting? That it was a into alpha plus I beta plus b equals to 0. So the left hand side is just a complex number. So let's write this complex number in the standard form. So taking all the real parts together, so a alpha plus beta is real part and plus ia beta is 0. So the left hand side is a complex number and the right hand side is a zero complex number. That means 0 plus 0 nothing, right? This means this. So equating the real and the imaginary parts, so therefore a alpha plus b is 0 and a beta is also 0. Okay. So equating the real and the imaginary parts of both of this, because these two complex numbers are equal, so equating the real and imaginary part. Now our assumption was beta is not 0. Why beta is not 0? Because I am considering the imaginary root alpha plus I beta. If beta becomes 0, this root is no more an imaginary root. Did you get my point? So if beta is 0, then that becomes a real root. I'll simply remain with alpha and alpha is a real number. So my assumption is that beta cannot be 0. Otherwise the proof makes no sense. I'm just talking about the real root alpha, right? So a into b is 0 and a and b are, a into beta is 0 and I know beta is not 0, so a must be 0. Why? Since beta cannot be 0. Okay, so now you know why beta cannot be 0. So a must be 0, right? Because r has no divisors of 0, by the way. Okay, and what will this imply then? Because a is 0, put here a equals to 0. So 0 into alpha is 0, so I'll simply get b equals to 0. So a and b both are 0. So therefore fx can be written as, you see here, what was fx? Fx was this expression. Fx was this expression. So this ax plus b will vanish. Because a is also 0, b is also 0. So I'll simply remain with this part. So fx equals to x minus alpha whole square plus beta square times some polynomial qx. So this is my fx. Now almost the end of the proof. Now what I was supposed to prove, that alpha minus I beta is a root. So you put x to be alpha minus I beta. If this becomes equals to 0, we are done, right? So I'll just put here alpha minus I beta minus alpha whole square plus beta square times qx. Q of alpha minus I beta, right? So this is what, again alpha got cancel. This is minus I beta whole square, so I square, let me write that, I square b square plus b square times q of alpha minus I beta. What is this? This is what, minus beta square plus beta square times q of alpha minus I beta, and that means this is 0, and that is what I was supposed to prove. See, I have proved that alpha minus I beta satisfies the equation f of fx equals to 0. So this shows that alpha minus I beta is a root of fx equals to 0, and this completes the proof, because that is what I was supposed to prove, that assuming that alpha plus I beta is a root, we have proved that alpha minus I beta is also a root. Okay, so this completes the proof. This is one of the important theorems in classical algebra. So this tells us that imaginary roots always occurs in pairs. You cannot have an equation having just one complex root. That is not possible. I am assuming that the polynomial is a real one. Okay. So few things to note. Okay, so few things to note. The number one. So these are not right. Just one thing, that if alpha plus I beta is a multiple root of order R, alpha minus I beta will also be a multiple root of order R. Just very simple, because corresponding to every alpha plus I beta, there exists another root alpha minus I beta. So because there are roots alpha plus I beta, there will be R many alpha minus I betas also. So again, just take a note of this. So if alpha plus I beta is a multiple root of order R, then alpha minus I beta is also a multiple root of order R. For an algebraic equation fx equals to 0, when fx has got real coefficients. Okay, I'm not writing that. Now the second thing, so I'm only talking about polynomials. So let fx equals to 0 be an algebraic equation. Okay, so where fx is a real polynomial. So remember, this theorem only holds for polynomial with real coefficient. If the coefficients contains complex numbers, then this may not be true. You can just prove. You can take a quadratic having complex coefficient and you solve that quadratic, the roots may not be conjugate. You have done that in class 11. So let fx equals to 0 be an algebraic equation where fx is a real polynomial. Then number 1, so then what can I say? Number of complex roots is always even. So this is very obvious. Just now we have proved in the theorem that whenever I have a complex root, I will also alpha plus I beta, I will also have its conjugate as a root. So remember that. Second thing to note, if degree of fx is odd, then fx equals to 0 has at least one real root. Can I justify the this point number 2 to me? If degree of fx is odd, then fx equals to 0 has at least one real root.
Number will be at least,
yes, exactly what Gaurav said is more or less correct. Like, suppose the degree of fx is 5, then suppose it is having complex roots. But you see, if alpha plus I beta is a root, then alpha minus I beta is also a root. So that makes it 2. Suppose it has another complex root, suppose a plus ib, and a minus is also a root. So 4 roots of fx equals to 0 we have calculated, which are all complex. We are remaining with just one root. It cannot be complex because I cannot find its pair. And fx equals to 0 can have at maximum 5 roots, right? So the fifth one must be a real. So this is a very interesting thing. If a degree of fx is odd, then fx equals to 0 has at least one real root. But if the degree of fx is even, then fx equals to 0 may not have real roots, because if all the roots are complex, then it may not have a real root. Okay. So let me do few questions based on this theorem. Okay. So let's go to the questions now. So this is the question. The question is this: find a biquadratic equation. What is the meaning of a biquadratic equation? A equation having degree 4, right? So find a biquadratic equation with rational coefficients, whose coefficients must be rational numbers, 2 of whose roots are 2i plus minus 1. So they have given us that this biquadratic equation has 2 roots equal to 2i plus minus 1. That is one root is 2i plus 1, another root is 2i minus 1. But you remember, this is a biquadratic equation. This has exactly 4 roots. They have given the information for just 2 roots. So firstly, we will determine what are the other 2 roots. So remember, by the previous theorem, since 2i plus 1, okay, I'm just taking the plus 1, so or this is same as writing 1 plus 2i, I'll write in the standard form of complex number a plus ib. This is a root of the equation therefore what can I say by the previous theorem? 1 minus 2i is also a root of the same equation. Okay, this is guaranteed by the previous theorem because I am finding with rational coefficients. So, which are definitely real. Every rational number is a real number. So, did you get my point? So, the first root is 2i plus 1. I am writing this as 1 plus 2i. And because this is a root, 1 minus 2i is also a root. And also, again, what is the another root? Another root is 2i minus 1, which can be written as minus 1 plus 2i, right, is a root of the equation. So what can I say? Therefore, so what is the conjugate of this? Minus 1 minus 2i. This is also a root. So therefore, required biquadratic equation is this. What is the required biquadratic? So I know 4 roots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they have the biquadratic will look like this, no? X minus the first root. What is the first root? 1 plus 2i. So let me open the bracket and write 1. This will become minus 2i. So this is the first one. Because this is the root, I may write like this 1 minus 2i. Because the second one is also the root, so x minus, this will become minus 1 plus 2i. So minus 1 plus 2i. The third factor being x, this is the root, so x plus 1 minus 2i. And what is the last one? X plus 1 plus 2i. So this is my required biquadratic. Let's simplify this biquadratic. Because these four are the roots. Suppose a, b, c, d are the roots, then what is the equation? X minus a, x minus b, x minus c, x minus d. So same logic. So open the bracket. So you consider this as a, consider this as b. So a minus b into a plus b is a square minus b square. So 2i whole square, that is 4i square, that will become plus 4 times. This will again similarly become a plus b into a minus b, a square plus b square again, no, because plus 4 again equals to 0. So you have to open the brackets. So this will become what? X square minus 2x, then plus 1. So this will become plus 5 into, this will become x square plus 2x plus 5, right? I hope you are getting my point. So a square minus 2ab minus, plus 1 plus 4 plus 5. Again, don't need to, like, if you multiply directly, you will get 9 terms. That will be too much hectic. So what you do? Just rearrange a bit. X square plus 5 minus 2x. And this is x square plus 5 plus 2x. Again, think this as a and think this as b. So what is your required biquadratic? So a square minus b square, so 4x square. So just you simplify one more line. So this is what? X to the power 4 plus 10x square plus 25, right? minus 4x square. So what is my final answer? X to the power 4 plus 6x square plus 25 equals to 0. So this is my biquadratic having the roots 2i plus minus 1. So again, to get this answer, I use the previous theorem. And you see the coefficients are all rational numbers 1, 6 and 25. So here is the another question. So the question is, solve the equation this, a biquadratic equation. It is given to you that 1 plus I is a root. Now just look here, this is a polynomial having real coefficients and 1 plus I is a root. So just using the previous theorem, we can say that 1 minus I is also a root. So I'll write exactly that what I said. So let me call this as some function that fx equals to x to the power 4 plus x square minus 2x plus 6. Since fx is a polynomial with real coefficients, fx is a polynomial with real coefficients and and 1 plus I is a root. So therefore 1 minus I is also a root. Right? So I have already calculated 2 roots of this biquadratic equation. But mind it has got exactly 4 roots, out of which I know 2 roots, 1 plus I and 1 minus I. I have to find the rest 2. Now to find rest 2, we will divide this by the these 2 factors. That means, so this will divide fx and even this will divide fx, right? So the product will also divide fx. So this is a factor of fx. I can say this because this is the root and this is the root. So x minus that root, x minus this root will be a factor of fx. Or just simplify this, no? This is what? X minus 1 minus I times x minus 1 plus I is a factor of fx. And lastly, so this is how much? A minus b whole square. Yeah, so this is a and this is b. So a square minus b square. So a square minus I square, that will become plus 1. This is a factor of fx, that is, just simplify this, a square minus 2ab plus 1 plus 1. This will divide fx. This will divide fx, or this is the factor of fx. So let us divide. Okay, so because the 2 roots 1 plus I and 1 minus I are coming from this factor. So let us find the other factor which will give us the 2 roots. So it will divide the firstly it will be x square. So this will be x to the power 4 minus 2x cube plus 2x square. So minus plus minus, this got cancelled. Now see here, x square minus 2x square. X square minus 2x square is minus x square, and this is alone, so this is 2x cube. Yeah, and then this is also remaining minus 2x. So now let's take x. So how much? If I'm taking x, 2x. So 2x cube minus 4x square plus 4x. So minus plus minus. 3x square minus 3x and plus 6. If I'm taking 3, it's getting cancelled, right? Yeah. So 3x square minus 3x plus 6 is getting cancelled. So my equation fx can be written as this times this. Right? So my equation will be fx can be written as this times this. So let me quickly write that. So therefore, fx can be written as, what was my divisor? Divisor was x square minus 2x plus 2, x square minus 2x plus 2, and what is my question? Question was x square plus 2x plus 3. So therefore, so either this, if I equate fx to 0, so either this equals to 0 or this equals to 0. If this is equal to 0, I have already calculated two roots, 1 plus I and 1 minus I. So therefore, other roots of fx equals to 0 are given by this equation, x square plus 2x plus 3. Solve this using the quadratic formula. X equals to minus b plus minus root over of b square minus 4ac by 2a. So this is minus 2 plus minus root over of 4 minus 12 is minus 8. So minus 8 is nothing but 2 root 2 I, right? If I take 2 common, so minus 2, sorry, if I take 2 common, so minus 1 plus minus root 2 I. So what are the roots? Roots of fx equals to 0 are, so one root was 1 plus minus I, another root was minus 1. So these are the four roots. 1 plus I, 1 minus I, minus 1 plus root 2I, minus 1 minus root 2I. So these are the four roots of my given biquadratic equation. So that's all for today. In the next class, I will discuss with some more questions from this theorem. Okay, that's all. Thank you.